Yo, I got back from Vietnam about 2 weeks ago. Awesome country, and I just thought I'd share with you guys some tips that I had on traveling in Vietnam and just like travel in general. So, number one is take photocopies of your passport. I took about 5 photocopies of my passport and just kept them separately. And the reason for this is when you're going to like hostels or you're doing like some sort of tour or exchange, like renting a motorbike where they need your passport copy or whatever, it can be pretty fucking annoying to have your passport going around and having to keep track of it all the time. So a good way to deal with that problem is having the photocopies, and then that way, if you forget, it's just a piece of paper, not your actual passport, and it will save you a lot of trouble. Second one is bag locks. So they're just these little locks that you buy just to lock up the zips for your bag. I use them when I'm in transit most of the time. So airplanes, putting your bags in buses, on trains, just leaving them unattended in general. Yeah, super helpful. I think this is number 3 is small shoulder bags. Some people call them fanny packs. Some people call them like bum bags, whatever. They're fucking useful. Use them. That's just those bags that you can like put around your shoulder, and you can just put some like coinage, or like you don't want to take a big bag around, you can just chuck it in that. Number 4, keep a flexible plan if possible. I found the best way to experience a place and have a good time is just have an open plan. What I mean by that is not booking trains and buses and shit ahead, just kind of do it as you go. And that means you can you're a bit more free in a place, you're not really locked down, you can do what you want. Yeah, I just found it a lot more fun. If you like the place a lot, you can stay there a longer time, or if you want to go, you can just scoot earlier or whatever. But when I was in Vietnam, I got to Ho Chi Minh with no plan. I got to Ho Chi Minh and I was like, alright, 6 weeks, I gotta be in Hanoi, what should I do? And I found doing it that way, a lot of cool shit just happened that you just don't expect, and when you start running with the flow like that, it's you're kind of open to a lot more experiences and can like saturate that culture into you a bit more or whatever. Next one is eating local. Eating local is just the best, but some places you do have to be careful. Just make sure when you eat local, the food's hot, like it's been recently like at least heated up or something, just to kill all the possible bugs and shit, because mate, Vietnam, some of the markets and stuff, fuck me, I would not want to be eating it. Their food was really good. I mean, I don't eat meat, which is a big part of their culture, so I guess I kind of missed out on that kind of part of it. But in saying that, just be careful eating the meat, because sometimes I'll be in markets and stuff and there's just cow legs on there's a cow leg on the table and it's just got a million flies on it. Hygiene might not be the best thing over there, so a lot of people do get sick. Yeah, eating local's sick because the food is so much more cheaper. Like seriously, I was getting, they call it banh mi, which is like a Vietnamese sandwich. I was getting banh mi off the street for 70 cents, and then they'll do the same thing in like a touristy restaurant or something. They'd be charging like $4 or $5. Beer is by far the cheapest drinks to have in Vietnam. You can get your average beer for about 70 cents. Especially in the south. The south, I noticed, is a lot cheaper than the north. Sometimes you'd be able to find a like 550 milliliter bottle for $1, and it's a cheap night. Make sure that you've had all like the injections for like, hepe, all that stuff. Make sure your body's immune system is gonna be able to cope with that shit, especially with mosquitoes. A lot of people get malaria tablets because there's a lot of mosquitoes, especially if you're going to places like Phong Nha, all these places where there's a lot of jungle. Make sure you check everything and check it again and then check it again. Check your bags, check you got everything. It will save you a lot of hassle, because the amount of times that I went back and checked, I was about to walk out of my hostel room, checked it again and found there was something that I left. Something important that I left. Beware of scams. places in Vietnam and just a lot of places in general, there's just a lot of scams for tourists. Pretty much people just trying to fucking take your money as cheekily as they can. So one of these is in Hanoi. Beware of the donut ladies. Beware. These ladies will come up to you and they'll have like baskets full of these donuts and these breads and stuff. Trust me, most of them just taste like shit. Don't even worry about it. But they'll offer you a free one. They'll say, here, try my donut for free. And you're like, yeah, okay, sure, free food, fucking oath. And then you'll eat one and then they'll be like, you have another, you pay. Another big thing is when you're in the cities, there's a lot of, they call them Xiams, which is just motorbike taxis. Be pretty cautious to get on these some of the times because the legit drivers, they'll have a green helmet on and they'll have a jacket and stuff and they'll be on the app. But a lot of the time, it's just dodgy dudes that are just offering to take people around for money, and I was in a few situations where you're like, oh, this could go pretty bad. If you're gonna catch a Siam or a Grab, that's the app, Grab. Make sure you're just getting taken by a legitimate driver. When I was in Vietnam, I didn't have a smartphone. I just had an old Nokia, so that was probably the biggest challenge for me, was trying to find accommodation instead, because I was just like, I'd get off a bus at 4 a.m. and walk around trying to find a hostel. But yeah, a good app to have on your phone is called Maps.me. It's an offline map, so when you're in a place, you can download the map of the area that you're in, and so when you've got no Wi-Fi connection, you can still like trace routes and stuff, which is always helpful if you're lost. And just a good travel tip, this is probably the most important, is just keep an open mind. When you're traveling, the best thing to do, I mean, do it if you want, but take my advice, is just keep an open mind, trying not to judge people, and like trying not to judge the culture in any way, because it was different to the one that I come from. It kind of made me like learn a lot more about their culture and traditions and the type of people that they were, and see the place for what it is instead of my egotistical facade that you have when you judge. And a thing that I found really helpful was keeping a lot of these things around, lackey bands. I found it super helpful for like just wrapping stuff together, keeping things together. So many like different uses that these things can just come in handy sometimes. Getting around by motorbike or moped is by far the funnest and the best way to get around in Vietnam. Just don't be a fucking idiot on them. You see a lot of travelers get at hostels and stuff, especially in places such as like Ha Giang Loop, Hai Van Pass, like all these epic motorbike routes. You see people coming into hostels, grazed everywhere on their body, big cuts. You just got to be careful. I'd be getting around Vietnam by trains and buses, and then when I'd go to a place, most days I'd get a moped out for the day, and you can kind of just explore in your own terms, see your own things. Yeah, but like I said, just be careful. Also in Vietnam, bartering or bargaining or whatever you call it is a big thing. So if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much you're kind of just like haggling it's between you and the person you want to buy something off, just trying to come to a price. What they do is raise that price for foreigners to try and get more money off them. So what you have to do is you have to fucking bargain hard, motherfucker. A general rule that I found was like about half it or so, and keep to the cheapest price as you possibly can. But I have found that Vietnamese, they don't fuck around, so if you say a price that's a bit ridiculous, they just won't waste their time. If you haven't backpacked before and you were looking for a bag, I'd suggest a 40 litre to 60 litre bag, like in between there. You don't want anything too big, because then it just gets a pain in the ass to take your stuff around when you're carrying like 15 kilos of stuff in your bag. So just pack light. 40 to 60 is good. And then also have a day bag, just a smaller bag that you can take the things that you only need for the day in. It's helpful if it's got like a lot of bags have like a back zip that you can just completely open everything up, which saves a lot of, instead of having to dig through everything. The bag that I use is the F-Stop Talopa. bloody expensive, but it's a good bag. It's really reliable. But you can just get a cheapo on Gumtree for $100 and it will do the same thing. Like I said, pack light. When you're packing, go through all your stuff that you think you need and then halve it, because you won't need everything you think you need. I mean, I packed pretty light. I had a 6 kilo bag for 6 weeks. I was still had things in there that I wish I just left at home. Packing light's just good because easy to carry around. It's got less things to forget and keep track of and stuff. So yeah, that's a really helpful one. When I was in Vietnam, I started in the south in Ho Chi Minh City, and I made my way up north and ended up in Hanoi. That's a pretty common thing. Like, that's what most people do when they go to Vietnam. They either start in the south or the north and they just go to the other end. I'm just rambling on now. Vietnam's fucking sick. If you're going, you're gonna love it. So yeah, pretty much traveling, just make sure you keep your wits about you. You'll be right. It's the most liberating, freeing thing that you can do for yourself is travel. So just make the most of the time that you got there. And yeah, come back with some experiences, dude. Catches.